Good evening and thank you for joining us for KREM News 10 at 10, where we give you more news in less time. Let's get started. We begin with the forecast. Hot, dry and windy weather continued tonight, and that's why we have been under a red flag warning all day long. Let's get straight to Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Legoo for the latest on our forecast tonight. Jeremy?
Well, Mark, it's one of those ones where our red flag warning is starting to expire from west to east. We're still hanging on to it in a good chunk of North Idaho and down across south central Washington, but notice here in Spokane County and out in central Washington, those warnings have been allowed to expire. Basically, the wind is moved through, the moisture is picked up, and our temperatures are starting to drop. How about this one for you? Max gust in Deer Park and Spokane, even Coeur d'Alene, right in the mid-20s. You move out into central Washington, a few gusts up in the 30s, and that seemed to be about the extent of it, but that is enough to cause some rapid fire spread. The good news is wind stays relatively calm overnight. The bad news is we'll see it pick back up tomorrow. Tomorrow, I think we wind up a little bit cooler. We wind up with a little more moisture in the atmosphere, and then it moves out. Notice that band of storms comes with a bit of lightning down to the south. That's moving through Moscow and on out. Some decent moisture coming out of that band of showers. But as it moves out, we wind up cooling down. 80 degrees and a bit breezy tomorrow, 82 Wednesday, 86 on Thursday.
All right, Jeremy, thank you very much. We'll check back in with you later in the broadcast. Well, tonight we are continuing to track a wildfire that closed both directions of I-90 at the Vantage Bridge just hours ago. We have just learned all lanes of I-90 are now reopened. According to WSDOT, the fire sparked when a semi-truck caught fire right here, which then spread to the dry brush alongside the interstate. And new tonight, far-right activist Ammon Bundy has been ordered to pay more than $12 million in damages to St. Luke's Hospital. That's according to the Idaho Statesman. This comes more than a year after the hospital filed a defamation suit against Bundy for leading protests outside the hospital, claiming it had, quote, medically kidnapped a child. After the order, Ammon told the Statesman, quote, the Ada County courts are embarrassing, unquote. The hospital announced all damages would be donated to the St. Luke's Children at Risk Evaluation Services. And Daybreak Youth Services here in Spokane continues its legal fight against the Department of Health. At the end of last week, a judge extended a temporary restraining order preventing them from operating. The judge's ruling comes just days after the DOH suspended the license of yet another counselor for having an inappropriate relationship with a teenage patient. KREM 2's Kyle Simchuk learned the latest allegations surfaced after that teen died of an overdose.
This is now the second counselor at Daybreak Youth Services accused of having sex with a minor patient. The Department of Health suspended her license earlier this month, but the allegations go back to 2021. According to court documents, Madison Tabor began working at Daybreak in August 2021. 2 months into her employment, she was confronted by staff about patient boundaries and rumors she was in a relationship with a 17-year-old patient. In November, Daybreak's director of mental health submitted a critical incident report after another patient came forward and reported Tabor's inappropriate conduct. In December 2021, staff received reports that Tabor was in a sexual relationship with a patient. Court docs say the patient described Tabor as the love of her life and kept the relationship a secret, worried Tabor would be fired. Court docs say Tabor wrote love letters to the 17-year-old, bought her jewelry, and had a drawing from another patient tattooed on her own body, and demanded nude photos from another patient. Tabor left Daybreak in May 2022 and reportedly told a former coworker she wished the 17-year-old would die of a drug overdose so their relationship would end, according to court docs. That patient did in fact die of a fentanyl overdose this February. This May, the Department of Health suspended Daybreak's license to operate and claimed the facility failed to cooperate with DOH on public safety investigations, failed to make mandatory reports, and failed to respond to allegations of staff misconduct. Tabor is accused of sexual misconduct as well as unprofessional conduct. Reporting in Spokane, Kyle Simchuk, KREM 2 News.
Happening tomorrow, a man arrested in California for a crime committed in Spokane is expected to be arraigned. Investigators say 30-year-old Charles Nutter stabbed a Spokane man in early June. A warrant was issued for his arrest, but police say he then left the state. Well, he then resurfaced in Willits, California, where local law enforcement says he violently attacked a man while he was sleeping, leaving him in critical condition. Nutter is now facing charges of attempted murder. And now to our night beat with a quick look at today's top stories. The woman charged with killing her boyfriend in a car crash began her trial today. Selena Juarez is charged with vehicular homicide in the death of Brandon McDonald. According to Spokane police, Juarez crashed her car with McDonald in the passenger seat back in 2021. After an investigation, police say they believe that she was impaired at the time of the crash. And take a look at this. An early morning burglary caught on camera over the weekend. It forced Apex Cannabis and Otis Orchards to close. 3 people, according to police, used a stolen car to ram their way into the building. Investigators believe they are all teenagers. They did trip the alarm, but managed to grab some merchandise and escape in that getaway car before Liberty Lake police and sheriff's deputies got there. They left the stolen car behind.
Once they did get into the store, they didn't have a lot of time to get too much, and they did choose to take some of our lesser expensive items, and very little damage to the building.
The owners of the shop told KREM 2 they are still, or rather it is still too early to know how much was stolen and how much the repairs will cost. If you have any information about the teens in this video, investigators are asking you to call the Spokane County Sheriff's Office. That number is right there at the bottom of your screen. Earlier today, the deadline passed for the man accused of murdering 4 University of Idaho students to submit an alibi. Last month, Brian Koberger's attorney asked for more time to provide his alibi to the court. They say he needed to go through all the evidence given to him by the prosecution. Koberger will be back in court next Tuesday. His trial is still currently set to begin on October 2nd. And 5 white nationalist group members have been released from the Cooney County Jail after being found guilty of conspiracy to riot last week. The men were sentenced to 5 days in jail with 2 days already served. They'll now serve 1 year of unsupervised probation. The men were part of 31 suspects who were arrested in the back of a U-Haul last year on their way to a Coeur d'Alene Pride event. After their probation year, the conviction will not appear on any of their court records. And that was your Night Beat. To learn more about any of these stories, just text us the word night to 509-448-2000 and we'll send them right to your phone. Well, a health alert for you this afternoon, or this evening rather. 3 people are dead after an outbreak of listeriosis in Washington. Health officials say all 3 were between the ages of 60 and 70 with weakened immune systems. The illness is usually contracted by eating food contaminated with listeria. The bacteria can be found on food prep surfaces, fresh unpasteurized cheese, leafy greens, and cold cuts, as well as raw milk. And taking a look at some news from across the Northwest, a woman is dead after a suspected bear attack in Yellowstone National Park. Her body was found over the weekend in West Yellowstone near the Montana-Idaho border. Authorities found tracks of an adult grizzly bear and at least 1 cub at the scene. Montana authorities say the woman did not have bear spray with her. The trail is currently closed as authorities search for that animal that was responsible. Here in Washington, Governor Jay Inslee issued an emergency proclamation due to flooding in Douglas and Grant counties. That proclamation activated emergency response procedures. It'll help provide people with resources and alleviate some of the impacts of that flooding. The proclamation comes nearly 2 weeks after a severe thunderstorm hit the counties. That caused flash flooding that damaged parts of US 2 and SR 28. In national news this evening, the Justice Department is suing Texas Governor Greg Abbott over newly installed floating barriers on the Rio Grande. They are meant to prevent crossing by spinning if anyone tries to climb on top of them and then sinking deep into the water.
What problem do you see the buoys posing for the migrants?
They're just a hazard. They're a hazard. They're going to deviate from that location to deeper water.
Do you believe lives are in danger?
Definitely. Yes, ma'am.
The lawsuit marks an escalating political showdown between the Biden administration and the governor over the southern border that's been ongoing since the president took office in 2021. And that was your KREM 2 News 10 at 10, where you get more news in less time.